I had been working for this company for a little over 4 years. An opening came up that was in another department. I applied for it and got the position. When I started working in this new department, I began working with many of the top-level executives that I had never worked with previously. One day, I was in a meeting in the conference room, and the CEO of the company walks in and sits down. This was the first time I was in a meeting with him. I'd only ever seen him in passing. A few minutes after he sat down, I noticed that he was staring at me several times. I really didn't think much of it. Because I thought that maybe he thought I was a new employee. I was almost positive that the guy had no idea who I was. So the meeting continues on, and now I can see that the CEO is trying to act like he's not staring at me. I'm sure other people in the room noticed him looking at me. He was making it very obvious. The meeting wrapped up, and he walked out without ever saying a word to me. At the end of the week, I got an email about a meeting that I normally wouldn't be in. It was a group email sent to everyone in my department. When it came time for the meeting, I was sitting at my desk, working, and the CEO's assistant comes over to my desk and says that I'm being requested at the meeting. I go to the conference room and see some of the top-level executives and a few other people seated at the table. And then at the head of the table is the CEO. When I walk in, I could see his eyes light up. He actually stood up and called me by name. He says that he wanted me in on the meeting for input on a certain project. I was stunned that he even knew my name. I just replied by saying no problem and took a seat. I think I may have only said 3 things in that meeting. It was really pointless for me to be there at all. As the meeting ended, everyone is walking out of the conference room, and I see that the CEO is still seated. I started to get up. He looks at me and asks if I could stay and go over a few things. After everyone leaves, he explained to me that he was really impressed on how well I had worked on a previous project, and he was looking forward to seeing what I could do on future projects. I knew that that was all a lie because he probably didn't even know what projects I had previously worked on. Then the real reason he asked me to the meeting comes out. He asked me to dinner. I'll admit, I thought he was attractive, but I didn't know if going out to dinner alone with the CEO of the company that I worked for was appropriate. My mind was telling me no, but my heart was saying yes. So, I agreed to go out to dinner with him. That night, we went out to dinner and had a really good time. He told me that I needed to make sure I didn't tell anyone in the office about our night out, because that would only be bad for business. started going out on a regular basis. Things were quickly starting to get pretty serious. It seemed like one of these whirlwind romances that almost seemed too good to be true. And I was right about it being too good to be true. One night we had gone out and he asked me to come back to his place. I said yes, and we get to his place, and I notice everything seems very plain. There's no pictures on the wall. Everything was very bland. It reminded me of a place that was used for showings when you're trying to sell your place. Then he tells me that this is his apartment when he stays in the city, but that he has a house in the country. Then he drops the bomb on me. He tells me that he's married with 3 kids. I thought that I was going to fall over. He explains that he's getting a divorce from his wife and that he's been staying at the apartment in the city. I was so upset with him for not telling me this from the very beginning. I started to leave, and he begins begging and pleading with me to stay. I don't know what it was, but after talking for a few hours, I decided to stay. From that point on, things only got worse, and looking back, it was my own fault for staying with him as long as I did. People at work were noticing how he treated me, and the rumors started flying in the office. A friend of mine at work came to me one day and said that people were saying some of the most horrible things about me behind my back. I was constantly asking him when he was going to leave his wife so that we could start our life together. He would always have some excuse about one thing or another. Apparently, someone in the office is friends with his wife and told her about the rumors that were going on. I was leaving to go home one night, and out of nowhere, I was approached by this woman in the parking lot who explains that she is his wife and that he's not leaving her. She starts screaming and yelling at me, calling me a home-wrecking whore, and she really caused a big scene. I got in my car and just drove home. I kept looking in the rear-view mirror, making sure she wasn't following me. I called him later that night and explained what his wife had done. He reassured me that he was in the process of getting a divorce and that his wife was just going through denial. We continued dating for another 6 more months, and he still hadn't drawn up the paperwork for the divorce. I finally saw that I was merely his mistress, and I had no future with this guy. I ended up leaving the company and stopped seeing him. I later found out that this is what this guy does. He cheats on his wife with women who work in the office and then tells them that he's going to leave his wife. I was later told he keeps the apartment in the city for these other women that he has, these other women that he keeps around. And he has no intention of ever leaving the wife.